Hi, I'm Erica. Welcome to my channel. Do all that YouTube stuff down below and let's get started. Today we are going to be talking about the new BH Cosmetics Take Me Back to Brazil palette. This is a 35 color pressed pigment palette. Now, if you don't know what the difference between a pressed pigment is and a normal eyeshadow, pressed pigments are just that. They use pigments instead of dyes. Dyes are chemicals, pigments are things like muds and clays. So this is cruelty-free because of that. And let me show you this beauty. I got this last night and I was able to kind of swatch test and play around with some of the colors on my arm. And they seem to blend really well on my forearm. You know, when I mixed a reddish and bluish color together, I got a purplish color, yellows and reds, I got an orangish color, so nothing turned brown when things were mixed together, which was the big issue with the Subculture palette whenever things were getting mixed together, because that was a very popular pressed pigment palette. Everything just kind of got muddy and blended together, and that was, well, the fallout was another issue, which this does not seem to have. I have not actually taken a brush to this yet, so we will see what happens there in a minute. But we're just gonna play around today, see what look I come up with, and then I'm going to go off camera, finish up my makeup for the day, and I'll have a link down below to an Instagram post that I'll do today with the final look of my eyes and how the makeup held up. So I already primed my eyes with the Maybelline Master Prime and set that with the Wet n Wild in Creme Brulee like I do every day. There's a video of my just general basic everyday eyeshadow tutorial and you can watch that up there. And without further ado, let us start playing. So the shades down here on the bottom, we have like an off-white and a pure white and a black. But then this last row here, if you are afraid of color, which I don't understand that. I get people say, oh, I'm afraid of color. What does that mean? It's like saying I'm afraid of a cracker. Color is nothing to be afraid of. Like even with my house, my living room is green, my laundry room is purple, my daughter's room is like that color yellow. You know, I choose more subdued tones for like for my bedroom, but yeah, color is nothing to be afraid of if you know what you're doing. Just think back to your elementary school color wheel. What color blends with which? If you'll get brown if you mix these two colors. If those two colors you get brown, you don't want brown, then don't put those two colors next to each other. So, but this last bottom row, it's pretty subdued. You get a couple good neutrals in there to start a look. And so I think that we're going to start with, actually we'll start right up here in this corner with this matte pinky shade. And we're gonna take my big fluffy round brush. And there really isn't very much fallout. I mean, there is fallout, but some of my favorites are the Lorac palettes. So I'm used to fallout in my shadow. So it's really not that big a deal for me. So we're just gonna take this and put it in on my occipital orbit. And it's not really showing up on camera. So we're gonna do this eye too. And I can see it in person. It's a very subtle pink shade, but I'm not going for subtle today. So let us drop down to that bottom row and do this, get in there with this color. Just take the same brush and see, they're dusty, but they're pressed pigments, so they're going to be dusty. And like I said, it doesn't really bother me too much. So, if you're somebody who's bothered by dusty shadows, you probably won't like this palette. But if you're like me and it's not a deal ender for you, then this should work for you. Let's take a, just trying to check how it's looking in my mirror and then how it's looking on camera. So again, just tap off some excess, and like I said, this goes right onto your occipital. So not below it, but right where that bone is. That's where this color is going to go, and go all the way up and down. All right, I'm going to put a little bit more just in the inner corner to even this out. Now, I'm sorry if you're bored watching me blend, but blending is the most important part when you're doing eyeshadow. You know, you could watch other tutorials and, you know, especially from like big YouTubers, and, you know, they might fast forward through it, or, you know, might cut out some of their blending, but then you're not getting the point and your look is not going to come out the same, because you have to understand blending. That, and this is a review, and first impressions of the product, so I want you to see that the effort that goes into making this look come off like this. So I really like that. It's really well blended. It's a little patchy over here in the corner. We'll just take a little bit more of a brush to that. Okay. But yeah, it's just that one little spot was a little patchy, but I think that was more my fault than the products, because this eye is fine. So let us head to the lids, and let's do a fun rainbow. So I'm going to take this little crease brush here. This is a crease brush, but and like I explained in my eyeshadow tutorial, I have very small actual lids. So this small little round brush, it's a great packing brush, because it's really not good. Well, the brush is packed well, so it's not good for your crease actually, because you need a fluffy brush for your crease. But since it's packed tightly, it picks up eyeshadow really well and distributes it well. So I like to use it on my lid. So let's start in the inner corner, and let's take this yellowy shade right here. Actually, we're going to go down a little bit and use this one here. And let's... Oh yeah. That is yellow. And you can see that it took almost no effort to make that show up. So these have a ton of pigment, which they should, because that's exactly what they are. They're pressed pigments. Oh. Color, color, color. I love color. We got 8 inches of snow here last night, and I feel like I haven't seen the sun in forever. So I am very, very happy to see color and put a little brightness into my life. So if I put a blue color next to this, I'm going to get a green kind of shade in the transition. So, and I don't want to do that yet. I want to put a green in, but I want to put a green kind of more out on the outer part of my eye. So let us take a red color, and there is like this pure red color right there. And that's one thing to note if you are into cruelty-free brands, that a lot of times in order to get a red color, if it's not a pressed pigment and it's a dye, it's going to be made out of crushed bugs. Sorry, but that's where the red comes from. So this is going to be very, so getting a red is a little bit more difficult for cruelty-free brands. Another thing to keep in mind, that if you take a look at this palette on the back, it's going to warn you not to use this near your eyes, which seems kind of ridiculous, right? But pressed pigments are going to stain your eyes. So I highly suggest making sure that if you're not somebody who typically uses some sort of primer, to use one, because it's going to help with preventing staining. You're still probably going to get a little bit of staining, but it'll back it off a little bit. And this is blending so perfectly. And I've got this beautiful orange shade now here where it mixed in with the yellow. And let's just dab a little bit of red into this spot here to make the red stand out a little bit more. All right. All right. Yeah, that blended really well. I'm really happy with that. So, excuse me. All right, a little tickle in my nose. All right, now let's go in with a blue shade. Now, obviously, when we put a red and a blue next to each other, we're gonna get like a purpley kind of color going on. So let us, what brush do I want to use? We're gonna, since we're heading to the outer corner now of my eye, we're gonna take the e.l.f. blending eye brush. It's very similar to the crease brush I just used. It's just a little bit fluffier, but still not, I wouldn't use it in my crease. I just prefer really, really fluffy brushes in my crease. So let's take a look at our options here for blues, and we have a lot of them. And let us, this one just speaks to me. Do we have any Doctor Who fans out there? Because it just reminds me of like a beautiful TARDIS blue. And again, just dust it off. And yeah, that one has almost zero fallout. Yeah, a little dusty in the pan, but nothing to worry about. And let us just take that in with the red and blend it in. And this, now I'm getting this beautiful purpley color in my crease where it's mixing with the pink, and it's not really blending in very well with the red. So I'm going to finish with this brush real quick on this eye, and then I'm going to take a nice fluffy brush and get the corner of my eye to get that blue and red blended together. Look like a parrot. I love it. Okay. Now, obviously, this is not something that you are going to wear on your eyes on a daily basis. Maybe you will. I work in a professional setting, so this is not something I would necessarily go into work wearing. But for the weekend, for my days off, absolutely. I love having fun with my makeup because that's what makeup is. Makeup is supposed to be fun. So we're just going to take this. It's a tapered brush. I don't know who makes this. I've had this brush forever and I just love it so much. And we're just going to take this and shove it right into your physical crease and blend that in there. All right. Okay. It got a little muddy, but that could be because I didn't clean this brush well enough before I used it. So we're just going to go back in, same brush with a little bit more of this blue color to bring back out the blue. All right, much better. Okay, so that's where we are at. All right, so here we are. Now I need to take something into my crease to kind of blend this all together. And that might be a little bit more difficult because you don't want to end up with like a really muddy looking color. But I think that if we just went in, I'm looking at this black and I'm like, oh, but then I'm afraid it might ruin the whole look. But I just want to go in with a dark color to kind of meld this all together. So I think what we're going to do is I'm not going to go all the way black, but there's this nice dark blue down here in the kind of the boring, I'm going to call it the boring bottom. I mean, none of these colors are boring, but if I had to pick a boring part of this palette, it's the very, very bottom row. So take my nice fluffy Wayne Goss number 18 and... My cats are back for a visit. Got a box down here of all my daughter's old baby toys, like rattles and stuff. And they love, well, it's a box, so they love to climb into it and play. All right. Okay. All right, that worked out pretty well. And because I stuck to primary colors, red, yellow, blue, when I'm blending this in, I'm getting a purpley shade throughout, which is, you know, just a nice dark. Cosmo, you want to come here and say hi? All right, where is that fluffy round brush again? All right, so let us go back in and touch up the top part here. And well, I started with this one, and that was the one that kind of was a little dull for the look. Then I went back in with this one. Let's use this one this time to bring back out that color on the occipital. I'm really, really happy with how these are blending. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm excited about this. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with a highlight on my brow, and obviously we're just going to use one of the white colors down here. This one's kind of an off-white, like a ivory with a bit of a sheen to it, and then this is just a white, matte white. So let's go in with, I don't have a whole lot of shimmer going on, so let's keep with that theme and just go in with the pure white color and blend that right in. I want to go in real quick one more time with, now he found a spoon. I want to go back in one more time and just in that outer corner with that yellow, and we're just going to use a little bit of a different brush this time, just to pat on so that bright color on the inner corner. Well, I'm in love. This is a great palette. The colors blend well, they show up, and this palette retails for $16. BH Cosmetics is obviously a drugstore brand, but when I went to Sephora, they wouldn't let me use my $15 or 350 off 15. I don't know why. They just said that it wouldn't take it, and they did have to order it for me because they didn't have it in store. So, yeah, the last thing I'm going to do is throw on some lashes real quick. And in my Instagram photo that I will link down below after I finish off my look for the day, I'm going to use some green down here on the bottom. Because with the green, that's how you're going to start getting in muddy colors. Like I said earlier, if you remember your elementary color wheel, red, blue, yellow, primary colors, you mix those colors to get other colors. If you're putting a red next to a green, you're going to start getting the browns. And if you don't want browns in your look, then you need to make sure that those colors are not touching. So we're going to put in my magnetic eyelashes real quick. And hopefully real quick. Oh, nope. Okay, hang on. It took me too long to look down and find the tops of them. These are the Ardell Magnetic Eyelashes in Accent 2. I did trim down the top part of the lash because they were just way too much. I also have them in the ones, and I will link right now, right up above, my video on how to put these in correctly, because obviously I'm not doing that right now. All right. Okay. There's one. And hopefully this one will go a little bit smoother. Yep, much smoother. Okay. Just needed some practice. Okay, so that's what we got so far. I'm going to go finish my makeup. I will put a link to the finished Instagram look down below. As far as this palette goes, it's amazing. It's $16. I would highly recommend it, especially if you are looking to start putting a little bit more color into your looks. There is no reason to be afraid of color. Color is amazing. So that is all I have for you today. I will see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.